Hello Australia, welcome to another Big Couch, episode 752 to be exact. Today we're talking tenancy with the Department of Consumer Protection's Debbie Butler. Nisha's talking to her very soon. Talking entertainment, Alexander Sacosta's got all the latest entertainment news. We're also looking at what's happening in Perth with What's on Perth with Belinda Cipriano. Talking books, the top 5 with Kerry Ridley from My Little Bookshop in Rockingham. And Bitchin is back. We'll talk all the news stories that you're talking about. Online Extra as well, we've got two great stories. Millennium Kids are in, and we're talking the Strange Festival as well. Stick around music-wise. We've got Sophia Gale. She's only 15 years old. She's going to perform for us very soon. The couch is happening right now.
It's showtime on the couch. It's showtime on the couch. You can see it from your house. You can see it from your house. It's showtime on the couch with Fred and the best in town. You can see it from your house. Yeah, it's showtime on the couch. Oh, oh, oh.
Hello Australia, wherever you're watching us around Australia, whether it's on Foxtel, C31, C44, or just on our Facebook page or YouTube page, welcome to the couch. Hope you can stick around for the next hour. Tenancy laws are changing over here in WA, but they have been changing all around Australia. I think Victoria has got similar laws to us as well. To clarify some of the tenancy issues and the laws, we're talking to Consumer Protection's Debbie Butler. With her today is our very own Nisha. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Fred. Consumer Watch, always some great insights coming from the department. Welcome again.
Thank you very much, Nisha.
Debbie, we had Iris on one of our previous segments, and I'm sure that you're going to be just as informative as her as well.
But not as dynamic, I'm sure.
Oh, no, you're very dynamic. We were speaking to you earlier. Now, so as the Principal Communication Education Officer, you've been with the department for over 10 years now, so I'm sure tenancy is not a new issue, but in the current market, I think it's 0.7% vacancy, 0.0%?
Yeah, 0.7% from REWA figures,
Yes.
and the average rent is about $560 a week here in Western Australia.
Goodness, so the issue is growing, would you say?
I would say so, yes.
Yeah.
It seems to be on an upward trajectory, and that means that tenants need to know about their rights more than ever before.
So we talk about runaway rents. What do we mean by runaway rents?
I suppose the issue is that rents can increase. So depending on the kind of tenancy contract that you have, if you're on a fixed term tenancy or a periodic tenancy, rents can only go up once every 6 months. But if you go from a fixed term tenancy and that comes to an end and you sign a new one, the rent can increase at 30 days after the commencement of the new lease. So fixed term tenancy, you go from one to the other. For the first 30 days of the new lease, you pay the old rent and then the rent goes up. If you're in a periodic tenancy, then the rent still goes up 6 monthly. You need to have, for both a fixed term tenancy and a periodic tenancy, 60 days notice of the rent increase. And for a fixed term, the rent can only go up in the manner that is actually in your lease. So check your lease and make sure that it'll either have a dollar figure or it will have a method for calculating what a rent increase will be. It can only happen in that way. For a periodic tenancy, there's no limit on what it can be increased during the life of that tenancy.
Right, and the other area that people get confused about is that when the rent increases, so does the bond, right, in terms of what's taken?
It can. So the landlord can decide that they want to keep the bond at 4 weeks' rent, so they can increase the bond. Now, the catch with that is you've got 60 days notice to increase the rent, and then 60 days notice after the rent increase comes into effect of the bond increase. So you've got a little bit of time to plan.
Okay, and there's a lot of financial difficulty out there at the moment. What do you suggest for tenants who are really struggling to pay their lease?
It's really important. If you're going to be in a position where you're not going to be able to meet a full rent payment or make a rent payment, you need to be engaging with your landlord or your real estate agent. Don't wait until you're not able to do it and then you might find yourself with a breach notice, or with a termination. Go and have the conversation. It's always open to a landlord to allow a rent reduction or to give you time to repay the rent, but also keep in mind that a landlord might be experiencing financial difficulties themselves and they might not be as generous as they would otherwise be. But if you're a good tenant and you pay your rent and you look after the property, you're probably in a better position to have that conversation than anyone else.
And I guess this leads into the next topic we're discussing around arguing against a rent increase. What rights do you have as a tenant to do that?
Well, as I said, you can only have a rent increase during a fixed term tenancy if it's in the lease. So you should have been able to calculate at the beginning of the lease what was going to happen. But if the rent goes up too much, you feel that it's excessive, have that conversation again with your real estate agent or landlord. Put forward the proposition that I'm a great tenant, I always pay my rent on time, I really look after your property. Is there any chance that you'd be able to look at a slightly less of an increase?
And Debbie, if there's a situation, which I'm sure there has been, we've heard stories where because of the market there is a really high spike in the increase, what can we do then? Is there any avenues we can go to?
There is. You can go to the Magistrates Court. And the court will have a look at the rent increase, and they'll have a look at the market around where you're living at the moment. They'll also look at the property, what kind of amenities come for that price, and they can make orders.
Fantastic. We've seen those long lines on the news of people in front of houses. What's rent bidding?
Rent bidding. So that's when a tenant or a prospective tenant will offer more rent than it's being asked. And so there are no current rules in WA that prevent that. However, if a real estate agent or a landlord put pressure on you to pay more than they've advertised the property for, you may have some redress under the Australian consumer law. So if you're in that position, we'd really encourage you to contact Consumer Protection on 1300 30 40 54 to have that conversation with us about what's reasonable and what isn't.
Beautiful. And we talk about substandard rentals as well. We've all heard the horrific stories of people fixing up their garden sheds, for example, and then renting them out. That's extreme. But what would you say for individuals who maybe have a substandard rental? What can they do? Look,
we're really concerned that the numbers of people coming to us with those issues are really low, and we're worried that people feel that they don't have rights because they're scared that either there'll be they won't be offered a new lease at the end of their lease. So what we'd say to people is you have the right to be safe and to have everything working correctly in the property that you are renting, and a landlord's got an obligation to maintain the property appropriately.
So there's a dual duty of care. What are some of these substandard things for our audience that can take place in a tenancy? What do you look out for?
Anything that's safety related, really. So if you've had an electrical issue, so if you've got a shock or a tingle when you touch a power point or a tap, for example, the first thing you need to do is get in touch with your energy provider. That is generally Western Power or Horizon for most West Australians. And then after you've had that conversation, contact your landlord or the real estate agent, because the most important thing is to be safe. Another issue that comes up a lot at this time of the year is mould. Black mould, which has been in the news a little bit lately. So both landlords and tenants have responsibilities when it comes to black mould. A tenant's got a responsibility to keep a property clean, and it should be well ventilated. But a landlord, so for example, if there's an extractor fan in the bathroom, you really need to use that.
Yes, especially when there's no windows, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, just to keep us on time, because there is so much here in today's tenancy issues, there's also leaving a rental home. Let's talk a bit about notice periods.
Yes, so if you're in a fixed term lease and you've decided that you don't want to renew that lease, you need to give 30 days notice before the end of the lease period that you're going to terminate, and that's the same for landlords and tenants. If it's a periodic tenancy, the tenant needs to give 21 days notice, but the landlord will need to give 60 days notice.
Sure, and if something happens and you have to break a lease as well, what does that look like?
Look, that's you're breaching your contract, you're breaching the lease. So and it can be costly. So the first thing is to have a conversation with your real estate agent or with the landlord to say why that's going to need to happen. You might find yourself in the position where you're going to have to continue to pay rent until a new tenant's found. But in the current market, that shouldn't take too long. And just making sure that you get that in writing and everybody knows what's happening, when the property is going to be available so that they can advertise it for a new tenant.
So definitely read the fine print in your contracts.
Absolutely.
And final inspections, any insights for clients there?
Okay, so a tenant has the right to be present during a final inspection, and this is when the importance of an incoming property condition report becomes obvious, because you're looking at what was the property condition report going in versus what's the exiting property condition report, because a tenant is only required to leave a property in the same condition, less fair wear and tear as it was when they entered into the tenancy. And depending on the length of your tenancy, 6 months or 6 years, that's going to be very different.
Very good point, and lots of shades of grey. And I'm sure,
Absolutely.
Debbie, there's a lot of our audience members sitting there thinking they may have questions. And if they do, what do you suggest they do?
They contact Consumer Protection on 1300 30 40 54, or you can go onto our website for some self-help, and that is www.consumerprotection.wa.gov.au.
Thank you so much, Debbie, for joining us
My
on
pleasure.
the couch. Very insightful. Tenancy issues huge at the moment, so please get advice. Fred also has some documents that he'll take you through shortly too, so if you've missed anything, of course, you can have a look at those. But otherwise, we will have everything available, obviously, on thecouch.com.au or also our Facebook page. Back to you, Fred.
Thank you, Nisha. Thank you to Debbie as well for her first appearance on the couch. Well done. And there's a lot of new laws coming in next year, middle of next year, to do with tenancies, and we'll keep you up to date with the Department of Consumer Protection. Now, Department of Consumer Protection has also got 2 new guides. If you are a landlord, there's the Renting Out Your Property guide that can be downloaded from their website. And there's also another one there for renting a home in Western Australia. These are fantastic. You can get them from the Department of Consumer Protection website or give them a call if you can't find it. They'll help you navigate through the website. Very important that it gives you some information, and it's very helpful as well, because I know I've used it myself. Thank you, Nisha. Thank you to Debbie. Music-wise, Sophia Gale is only 15 years old. She's a wonderful young talent. She's got a beautiful song today. It's an original that she's written herself, and she's going to perform it for us centre stage. It's called Head Up High. Here's Sophia.
Go through the time, that awkward stage of life. When we fall, we get back up again. We learn things every day, even when we feel ashamed. We all get through it in the end. All we need is a chance to fly, so give yourself some time. I'm holding my head up high. I'm trying to reach for the sky, 'cause I hope as I live I can learn to strive up to the finish line. Being strong in the mind, I feel is the right kind of love. Love we feel within. Sometimes we forget our sense of self-respect, 'cause we're lost in our regrets. All we need is a chance to fly, so give yourself some time. I'm holding my head up high. I'm trying to reach for the sky, 'cause I hope as I live I can learn to strive up to the finish line. Ooh. I live, I can learn to strive up to the finish line. I'm holding my head up high. I'm trying to reach for the sky. 'Cause I hope as I live, I can learn to strive up to the finish line. Ooh.
Sophia Gale, what a wonderful performer, 15 years old, and she's coming back at the end of the show with a beautiful, beautiful song. Stay tuned for that. Thank you very much. Time now for us to find out what's happening in entertainment news, and in the studio with us again is the man himself, Alexander Sacosta. Welcome back.
Thank you, Fred. I love being here. I love entertainment, and I love you.
Oh, thank you very much. I love you too. Now that we've got the wedding and the marriage over and done with,
Yes.
what's happening
All right.
with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Arnold Schwarzenegger. So he went on this bit of a rant where he was complaining about saying that he doesn't believe in the afterlife in the traditional sense, despite the fact that he had a Christian upbringing.
But he keeps saying, "I'll be back."
Yeah, well, that's what he's saying. I
Oh.
guess Jesus said the same thing, and we're waiting. But when it comes to him, he says he believes that, yes, their soul and thing might happen, but the whole idea of the physical body or the way you look now exist in the afterlife, not a big fan of that. So it's
Okay.
definitely attracted some attention towards him. Again, he's turned into a bit of a philosopher in his later years.
He's not doing politics anymore. He's
No,
finished
but
all
he
that.
still has opinions that he's very much
I
willing to
reckon he
share
could
on
run for
podcasts.
president and probably get that over Donald Trump anyway.
Well, you can't get it because he's probably not an American. Don't you have to be like a born-in American
Yeah, I think
citizen
you
to
do.
become president? But what I find interesting, though, is when he talks about the afterlife, it's like when we bury Arnold Schwarzenegger, there's so many steroids in that those flowers on that grave are going to grow arms, legs,
Exactly.
and going to make bad Terminator films.
And I always worry when they start talking about religion. You remember the last one, Tom Cruise. What was his name? Yeah, Tom Cruise.
yeah,
That's what I'm thinking of. The Scientology thing sort of ruined his image.
Well,
so
you kind of do is avoid religious topics, avoid political topics, and opinions on Mariah Carey.
and if you're Taylor Swift, you'd avoid Matty Healy.
Well,
What's happening there?
She was
Not
dating
long.
him, not super officially, but they were believed to be together. But then now that has ended. So there was a lot of speculation, and now it's over. And at a concert, he kind of hinted at it. And Taylor Swift is known for using her personal life to kind of fuel her music, as many artists do. But she gets a lot of flack for it because she's kind of been painted as this person who just moves through all these people. But that's not really true. Because her last
Do we know why
relationship
they
was-
broke up? Obviously, they don't get on.
No, she's very private with regards to all that stuff. But her music, I'm sure the next album will give us clues.
She throws herself
She's
in her
crushing
music.
it right now, though.
Yeah,
the
she
Eras
is.
tour.
She's very, very
Huge.
popular.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
huge.
Fantastic.
What's happening with Kim Cattrall?
Kim Cattrall, Sex in the City. You know how everyone's like, oh,
Yes.
they weren't all friends, and that is true.
is true.
She said it on that Piers Morgan show that Sarah Jessica Parker could have been a little bit nicer. There she is there.
So they fell out when they were doing Sex in the City,
Yes.
right? And she refuses to work with
Refuses to
people
work
on
with
screen.
them again. However, despite the fact that with this reinvention series...
So how did they record her parts?
They recorded completely separately. So she stipulated, apparently,
Yeah.
that it was a phone conversation that she was having. She's filmed completely separate, had no contact with any of the other cast members, not even been on the same
So
phone
the
line
first
with
time
Sarah
they'll
Jessica
see
Parker.
their lines together will be on screen because it will be edited all together.
Literally no. She had made a statement saying that she would never play Samantha again,
Yeah.
that someone else could play it. However, it's interesting that she has come back. She said she did it for the fans because people said the new show is really missing.
And I reckon the money would have had something to do
well,
with
I'm
it as
sure it wasn't.
And sometimes it would have been a
$5.
lot easier too. You don't have to work with anyone, just do your bit.
Hey, maybe that's how she can keep appearing in the show because it's definitely coming back for a second and I believe a third season after that as well because why not?
Oh, well, good luck to her. What's happening with Pete Davidson?
So Pete Davidson, this is quite interesting. So he adopted a dog recently and got a lot of flack from PETA for not adopting one of the shelter dogs, for actually paying for it. He publicly made some comments were leaked from a voicemail, which then... it attacked him personally. And I think Pete Davidson's a very kind of interesting, because he's a comedian. He used to be on Saturday Night Live. He used to date Kim Kardashian. He's made his way around Hollywood. And he made the comment saying that he bought the dog because his family was very upset, his sister and his mum. So that's why he spent the money on buying a dog outright as opposed to adopting it. But I feel like it's a non-story once again because... what's that got to do with anything? Like, yes, he paid for a dog, and yes, we encourage people to buy shelter dogs, but that doesn't make him a bad person because he bought a dog. Like, not everything has to be this grand political statement, that the actions of celebrities like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, Pete Davidson.
And I know
Very
you got something
interesting.
there about Shakira and Tom Cruise as well.
I can never stop talking about Shakira and Tom Cruise. Turns out, to update us from last week, not true. They are not dating. They are not interested in each
So
other.
it never happened.
Classic Hollywood story, Fred.
There you go, and I knew it wasn't true.
Why let the truth get in the way of a good story?
Now, talking about a good story, I was so glad when Kochie left Sunrise, I have to say. Look, congratulations for, 21 years I think he was there.
21 years.
And I think they were never going to beat Cole and the lovely Sarah, is that her name? The lady from the lady on Channel 9 on the Today Show.
Oh, okay.
But Sarah Arbo, that is. But he left Sunrise. He resigned, finished.
That's it. That's the end of that. I don't know. He said he wants to spend more time with his family, which is completely understandable. Having the workload on that show, having to wake up super early, and his new replacement,
Matt Shevington.
Shervo, as his friends call
Now,
it.
for those people who don't know who he was,
Olympian.
Olympian. Now, was that what he was big for?
Yeah, huge.
I hear that
I
as
actually
well.
met him at Telethon.
Was he a nice guy?
He was super nice.
Yeah, look, I don't know if he's a journalist. I don't think he's a
I
journalist.
think he comes more from he worked at Sky News for a bit as well, so he was
he's got
trained
the
up
media.
in the media training, but I don't think he specifically.
Well, look,
studied
he's
when
been
he was
filling
younger.
in every Friday
There he
for
is.
a
Look how
couple
young
of
he
years.
looks. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. The women used to love him. He's married these days. He's got a couple of
He
kids
is.
as well. And he's looking forward to getting up at 2 a.m, he said, to go off to Sunrise. So we wish him all the best. He's been doing the fill-in on a Friday. Kochie will still be with the 7 Network. He'll be doing finance-type reports and big financial reports, he says. But congratulations to a great career. And
Fantastic.
and
To have that kind of
obviously-
longevity, my gosh.
And I really thought it was going to be Dr. Chris Brown because, he's moved over to 7, but they haven't quite named what project. And I believe the lady that's with him on the Jungle, what's her name, the comedian?
Julia Morris.
Julia Morris is moving across. That's the rumour.
Do you think
I've heard.
so?
I do believe she is. There's problems at 10. 10 doesn't have the money.
essentially with CBS.
And a lot of the things that people don't understand with Channel 10, I don't know if you've heard it, but the living room, for example, has been put on ice.
Yes.
Right? But none of the people that were part of the living room are contractors. So Channel 10's got a habit of saying, we won't need you for a year, but stick around in case we do. So all those people
Aren't allowed to do
don't get
anything
paid
else.
anything unless they have other work. So they can do other stuff,
Yes.
but not if it's not on Channel 10.
Oh.
So a lot of them are choosing to look for new work. And Dr. Chris Brown has moved.
Yes, to Channel
and,
7.
and Julia Morris looks like
You
she's
think-
moving
do you
because
think
she
she went
can't
to
do the
7 or
jungle on
9?
her own. Look, I reckon Julia Morris started at 9. She went to 10. And I reckon she'll go over with Dr. Chris Brown. They're very good friends.
Yeah.
And they work well together. And I wish them all the best. And also Miguel and the other people on the living room. I think they're wonderful talent. It's a shame 10 hasn't come up with a new format for them. And Lisa Wilkinson, whatever happened to her? She will never be back on TV, I
My
think.
gosh, I didn't want to touch that. That's
No.
a whole thing.
Nobody,
My
even
gosh.
10 doesn't want to touch it.
Oh.
Hot or not? What's hot this
Hot
week
or
and not hot?
I tried a Bangkok-style barbecue that was delicious, and I am someone who enjoys all kinds of food. Haven't tried it before. Bangkok
Where?
barbecue's hot here in Northbridge.
What's it
Bangkok
called?
Brothers. Delicious.
I think I saw a clip of you on your Instagram. Is that
Very
right?
cool. I'm getting right into
What was your
multicultural food.
favourite?
Oh, well, the fact is you can cook all your own food to how you like it.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like this gold plate that then has the water around it, and then you can just put whatever you like on it.
Bangkok
so shared
Brothers.
meals are hot.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you, Alexander. Anything else you want to say?
Just
What about your website? Tell us what it is.
The same my website, alexandersacosta.com. I like that we
done.
put that thing out about dating last week. I've gotten quite a few messages. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And not all of them welcome, I think. Alexander Sacosta, as always, talking entertainment. Thanks for your help this week. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. We're going to take a break. More coming up. We're talking books with Kerry Ridley and more. What's on Perth? Stick around, Australia. The Couch is back after the break. Welcome back to the Couch. Always nice to have your company around Australia. Hope you're enjoying the program. We're going to give you some information now about events that are coming up here in WA. Now, if you're coming over to WA from the east, listen carefully because lots of great events. To do that, we've got her back in the studio today. What's on Perth presenter, of course, Belinda Cipriano. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Fred. Always a pleasure to be back with you and the crew. Always
Thank you.
a fun
And
time.
can I just give people a sneak preview? We're going to talk about Belinda's new book. It's called Frankie and His Fabulous Football. So that's the book there. I know we've got a graphic of it later, so stay tuned because we're going to talk about that as well.
Beautiful.
Now, let's have a look at some of these events.
Yes.
All these. This is virtually your social life, and we're just telling you about where you'll be.
It is.
Mickey
I picked
Mouse
my favourites.
and
yes.
friends.
So Mickey Mouse, join Mickey Mouse and his friends at Disney on Ice when it returns to the RAC Arena from June 15 to 18.
Who's the leader of the pack that's there for you and me?
M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E, Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse. Oh, we're getting old.
See, there you go.
We still remember the song,
we
which
do.
is really bad.
That's great. Well, he will be joined by some of his iconic Disney characters, including Tinkerbell,
Yep.
Moana, Elsa, Aladdin, and The Little Mermaid. It's a great one to take the entire family
I
to,
love
I
it.
think. And prices start at $27.35, and I think you can get your tickets at Ticketek, and I think we'll have a link on the screen for you now.
There they are there.
So-
And you look good on that show. Yeah, well, how long are you going to be in it for? Are you Tinkerbell?
Elsa.
Elsa. Oh,
After
of
watching
course.
Frozen for the first time, that was it for me.
And I
Elsa.
say, let it go,
Let it go. Yes.
Perth Up Market's coming up.
It is. Perth Up Market is holding its iconic market again at UWA's Winthrop Hall on Sunday, June
Ooh.
18 from 10 a.m. There'll be more than 200 stalls.
Yep. 200.
Talented artists, designers, craftsmen and gourmets. They'll
What a
all
great
have,
venue.
Yeah, it is such a beautiful venue. Best thing about it is free to park and
How
also
good is
free
that?
entry.
Gourmet food,
All of that.
crafts people.
Yep. So if you're looking for something original as a gift or for yourself, then head on down to the Perth.
And of course, you
Up
said
Market.
parking and entry is free.
free, yeah.
For more information, please go to perthmarket.com.au.
That's the one.
And you can get all the information you need there. Now, Rock Quiz. Now, I know the TV show
Yep.
with Julia Zamiro.
Yep.
Now, I've also watched her on Foxtel now that they've
Yeah,
moved it
yeah.
from the ABC.
How do you feel?
Look, I thought the ABC was better.
Yeah, they did a really
because
good
it was
job
a
of it, didn't they?
different show. But I always believe that the original broadcaster always does every show better.
I agree.
Big Brother was the same. Anything
Yeah, they
that
all do it. Even Australian Idol.
Australian Idol was the same. The Voice was the
Yeah.
same. The Farmer Wants a Sister or whatever it's called. These days you've got to be politically correct. You never know who wants who anymore.
Exactly.
But can I just say to you, this show is an absolute wonderful show. The guy that actually does the audience is
Yep.
actually the producer of the show.
Oh, there you go.
Bartholomew, we used to call him on Hey Hey. Do you remember him on Hey Hey?
Do you know what? I did attend Hey Hey a couple
Yep.
of times. I went and saw Ricky Martin at
I
Hey
knew
Hey.
you would.
Yeah.
It'd have to be Ricky Martin.
Shake your bonbon,
Yep.
you know.
So
Yeah.
what can we expect with Rock Quiz? They've got...
They're touring.
They're
They're
salute
touring Australia and they're
performance, yeah.
coming to the Astor Theatre on the 21st of June and they're celebrating 50 years of Mushroom Records.
Oh,
do you remember
wow.
Mushroom
Yeah, I do,
Records?
I do,
I used to
unfortunately, I do
actually
remember.
have I used to have a lot of Mushroom Records.
They were big. They were Kylie Minogue and all those people, all the
My
big
godmother,
stars.
every Christmas I would get a record from Mushroom
That
Records.
and RCA, I have to
Yes.
say. ABBA was RCA, as you know.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
an ABBA
yeah.
fan.
Yes, you
but
are.
Mushroom Records, whatever happened to them?
Iconic.
Did they change their name to something else or did they
I'm not
go,
quite
they've
sure.
disappeared?
I'm not quite
Who
sure.
has records anymore, I
I
guess?
know.
Everything's
Well,
online.
but do
it's
you know
now
what?
called Spotify.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? Records are coming back.
Yeah.
I know all the young, cool kids
vinyls.
like these guys in the crew. I bet one of them has a record player. I am
Yeah,
sure.
I bet you. Anybody want to nod, say yes? Yeah, no.
There you go, we
they,
do.
They just said,
We've
what's
got
a
a
record
record
player? Don't worry, Auntie Belinda will tell you later.
I think my mum's still got one, to be honest, in her lounge room.
I agree with you. Now, there's a puppetry show. Now, I misread it, thought it was the wrong one. I was just
It
about to
isn't
buy
that one
tickets.
that you were thinking. It is The Curious Legends are set to mesmerise Perth with Fever Dream. That sort of scares me a little bit.
Similar
Fever
to what
Dream.
I thought, Fever Dream.
A large-scale outdoor production featuring giant illuminated puppets at
Langley
Langley Park. On Friday, June 25 and Saturday, June...
So 2 days.
24th and 25th, Friday, June 24th, Saturday, June 25th. It's interactive, enchanting and immersive and a great event for the entire
Into
family.
the world of wonder.
Exactly. And it's free, again. So, another thing to take the entire family out to see.
And the information's on screen. Of course, you can go to curiouslegends.com.au
That's
for
the
info.
one.
Now, Supernova is back.
It is.
And that is the
Supernova is
home
back.
of course, all the great scientific stuff
Film,
like
TV,
gaming,
fantasy,
television.
all of that, sci-fi
Supernova.
cartoons, all of that. The biggest star in my eyes, I'm sure there's lots out there that will disagree,
Yeah.
that is coming this year is Alyssa Milano. Now, I know you'll know who Alyssa Milano is.
Tony Dancer
Stop
was
it.
her dad,
Yep,
wasn't it?
Yeah,
And-
who's the boss and
Yep.
Charmed fame. Like, I absolutely idolised Alyssa
We
Milano.
all
growing-
loved her
Yeah,
because
she was
it
just
shows our age,
beautiful.
really. I think
Yeah,
we're going
it
to start
really
picking
does.
other shows. I don't remember a show like that. Don't mention Beverly Hills 92.9 or whatever it was called.
Yes.
But yeah, look, that was an icon show.
It
Who's
was.
the Boss was
Who's-
amazing.
We grew up watching it.
Who was
and-
the blonde lady that he was in love
Oh
with?
my God, her name was Angela on the show.
Yes.
But I don't remember. what was her name in real life?
I don't know, but she was wonderful. The whole cast was wonderful.
They were great. Well, Alyssa Milano is coming, and you can get your chance to meet her if you like. Tickets do start at $42.50, but there are meet and greets and all sorts of different prices for a bunch of other experiences that you can have during that weekend. I visited a couple of years ago and I got to meet Shannon Doherty and interview her, and she was incredible.
Wow.
Love her too. So,
what a buzz. And no guy from Star Trek this year. Normally the guy...
There might be. I didn't look. I saw Alyssa
He's
Milano
here every year. I don't think he ever leaves. He's just in a cupboard now. They just
open it up now.
Exactly. And he says, Captain Kirk. ABBA.
Well,
look, there's an ABBA story.
Wow.
You should do music. I don't think Demelza can do it anymore.
Oh, my goodness. I picked this one for you. It's a bottomless brunch filled with ABBA magic.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Enjoy groovy tunes by the spectacular Cougar Morrison, Donna Kebab, and Faye Rochus while enjoying 2 hours of bottomless drinks.
I could probably go to
and
this.
a 3-course shared meal at the Alford in Mount Lawley on Sunday, June 25. I reckon we should get together and go to this.
I think so. If you love ABBA, you wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Gimme more, I hear you say, Fred.
Give me a Belinda after midnight. Won't somebody help me take
the shadows away?
You're good.
Yeah,
You're good.
Yeah. Well, tickets start at $59 for a Virgin brunch, and go all the way up to $105 for everything else.
That is not bad.
It is. It's very good.
$59. I reckon we should turn up. We should not do the show for a weekend.
I reckon that's the time that we need to do our karaoke.
Wonderful. They're your events.
They're my top 5 this month.
Yep.
There's lots happening in Perth at the moment. And I did get a few late entries, but it was too late at that stage to pop them through, but heaps happening. Yes.
Tell me about this wonderful book that you have written. It's about your dad, but tell me a little bit about the book.
So The Adventures of Frankie and His Fantabulous Football is my latest book. It is inspired by my dad and his soccer journey. It started in Portugal, went to Brazil, and then he finished his career here in Fremantle, Western Australia.
You interviewed your dad and found out
it's
all
the stories that we've heard throughout his lifetime. Like he's
what a
83.
wonderful idea.
Yeah, it's really cute. He was super shocked. He had no idea I was writing this.
Yep.
So when
There's
I got
your dad, by the way. Hello,
copy
Dad.
of it,
Frankie?
that was the first time he saw the book actually, and he could not believe his eyes.
And you look so proud, and he looks proud of his daughter.
He was so happy. The video is hilarious.
He's got that look. How much am I getting for royalties?
Yeah, he's like 10%.
And do we have to tell Centrelink? No, Dad, it's under my name.
I get everything. I am translating that to Portuguese later.
What a wonderful idea. Are you hoping to get this out into the education side of things? Like
I am. I've just been over east with the Portuguese National School, and I travelled to Melbourne and Sydney to do a little tour on my other book.
It's all beautifully illustrated for those people
really,
who
really
want pictures.
cute. Belinda Ryan did the illustrations.
It is
She's
wonderful.
a gorgeous illustrator
from
over
over
east.
Pictures in there.
Yeah.
It is great. And this is a true story. Frankie is your dad.
No, it's not. It's inspired.
Well, inspired by your dad.
Yeah, inspired by my dad, yeah.
And I think that's close enough. And he obviously was a bit of a soccer player.
He was a little soccer star, actually. He was very, very good. And he played until his late 30s here in Fremantle, WA. So, yeah.
How can we get the book?
So you can go onto my website, belindasipriano.com, and you can purchase them there. They're all for sale. And I can certainly give you a little bit of an autograph as well.
Thank you very much.
Sign them. And that one's for you.
And thank you very much. Is there another book coming very soon about your mum?
Well, this is it. I've been thinking about that. Everyone's asking if there's one coming for my mum. And I did do, my first one was inspired by my grandma, which is my mum's mum.
Yep.
So I think we're going to.
Do you know what? When it's about Europeans, there's a lot of food stories.
Absolutely.
I know you're an amazing cook as well. Your dad makes amazing wine, which we'll try hopefully
We're
next
doing
time.
that next month. We'll do that.
And if we have a bit of ABBA in the background, and a bit of cheese.
It's a party.
We'll be good.
We'll get the crew.
Belinda Cipriano, what a wonderful talent. Look forward to seeing you back again in a few weeks' time.
Thank you so much
and,
for having me.
Don't drink all the wine before you bring it in. We'll take a break. More of The Couch coming up right after this. And don't forget this wonderful book. You can get it right now. Frankie and the Fabulous Football. And this one's mine. Thank you.
That one's yours, yes.
See you after the break. Welcome back to The Couch. With winter setting upon us, lots of rainy days around Australia, what better than to sit back in front of a fire, a glass of wine or milk, and maybe read a good book. With us today to tell us why we can do this and what great books are out at the moment, Kerry Ridley from mylittlebookshop.com.au. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Nice to have you here. Now, we've got
Yeah.
5 books today, Kerry.
Yes.
And I thought we might go through the first one. Now, we've got Agatha Christie is the first one by Lucy Worsley.
I'm obsessed. Because I'm obsessed with Agatha Christie, she had a massive life. If you read this biography, I think the comparison today would be like a reality TV show.
Yep. What's it about?
She basically from go to woe and how she came about
And we're talking
writing
about
all these
Agatha Christie, of course.
Yeah.
It's a true story.
Yeah,
About her life.
so about her life. She had quite a few lovers.
Yep.
She was a surfer because she was in Torquay in England and
Very popular person.
very, very
So
popular.
what made her
Yeah.
famous?
What made her famous is that even today she's still the biggest selling crime author. And
In
her
the world.
Yeah, and her play The Mousetrap has been in the West End for,
Yep.
gosh, that's the longest running show there ever.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think there's been some TV as well, TV shows, etc., come from Agatha Christie's life.
Yeah.
And I know a couple of people, like The Mousetrap, I know one of my friends is actually still doing that play here, like a
Oh, wow.
murder mystery type
Yeah.
night. So fantastic. That's called Agatha Christie, and it's out right now. The next book we're looking at is Dirt Town.
Great new Aussie author. It's
Yep.
set in a small town, crime thriller. This book actually won the Australian Book Industry Awards Book of the Year this
Yep.
year for that. And it's about how they stumble across a 10-year-old girl in a riverbed. And it's a murder. And it's a very small town and everyone knows everyone else. So it's trying to find out what went on in that. And it's written as well half like the little girl's talking and telling her experience of what's happening.
So if you
what
like a bit of a
happened.
murder mystery,
Yeah.
Dirt Town.
Really
Looks
good, yeah.
Well done. Now, this one here is called Festivals. Now, this is HarperCollins publisher.
Yeah, I love this book.
It looks creative and colourful as well.
Oh, it
Beautiful.
just pops on every single page. So it talks about all the festivals around the world. So there's
Yep.
Africa, kites from Japan, even New Zealand has a gumboot throwing day, which I didn't know about. And then right at the end of this book, it gives you the concise details of when these
And the
festivals are.
illustration, can I just say, folks, look at that.
Yeah.
The colour in this book and the illustration, just amazing. And it's illustrated by Marcina Cabossa, a lovely Italian lady by the looks of it.
Yeah,
no, a
it's
great
great.
book. Now, who
Yeah.
would you say the age group for that one is, Festivals?
Age group for that would be up to, say, 7, 8 years old.
So a great
Yeah.
gift for maybe coming up to birthdays or Christmas, I guess.
Absolutely, and they're good for the schools as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, this one here, Growing Up Queer in Australia, it's a great book, especially these days where more and more people want to know more about the life of alternate lifestyles and other people's lifestyles.
Absolutely, yeah.
What can we find out about this book?
It's a whole series of growing up, and each series has, a different subject matter. Obviously, this one is about the queer community. There's about 30 stories in there from different Australian authors, such as Patrick Lenton, Sally Rugg, and it's all of their really quite very personal stories of, all the challenges
Many years
they
ago, they
faced.
wouldn't be able to write a book like this without people
No,
going,
it wouldn't
I'm
be
not
on the
buying.
shelf.
Now,
Yeah.
so many people, whether they're gay or queer or whatever you
Yeah.
want to say, their alternative lifestyle, so many people would want to read this, and it's a good understanding book, even for parents.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yep.
Now, what does edited mean? Why is it edited and not written by?
Benjamin Law, he is a journo on the East Coast and an author as well. So when they mean edited, it means that he's gone through all of them stories
Personally edited everything.
and personally,
so he's
changed
got
it all
a
around.
hands-on
and things.
approach to the book, which is
Very
wonderful.
much so, yeah.
Well done. So that is called Growing Up Queer in Australia, and Benjamin Law is the creator of the book, but he's also the editor. And the last book we're looking at is 10 Pathways.
I love this book. It is about redefining happiness, and you just relax into the book, is the way I would explain it. It's got all sorts of different tips and techniques. It's not too spiritual, but it has the vibe of Phosphorescence by Julia Baird that's been a big bestseller in Australia for quite a while now. So, yeah, and a good reference book to just read every 6 months or so. So you get to go oh, phew, and just really come back down to earth and just
Wonderful.
chill.
So the books we
Yeah.
looked at today, Growing Up Queer in Australia. We've also looked at Dirt Town, which is a murder mystery, 10 Pathways, which we just talked about then. Of course, Agatha Christie, self-titled, you know what that's all about. Agatha Christie, the famous lady herself. Festivals by HarperCollins as well. They're the 5 books. Now, do you read every single book that comes out? I'm always intrigued. Are you able to read everything? Or
No.
No. You read the back cover, I betcha.
Actually, I read that in Bali. 10
Wow.
Pathways. That's probably why I was so relaxed into it. Yeah, everything that I bring here, I do read.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Now, is there any book news, anything coming up that we need to pay attention?
There is some good gossip coming up.
Yeah.
The rumour mills
Yeah.
in the US are saying, and all the Book Talk fans are saying, that Taylor Swift is going to have a biography coming out in July.
Well, we talked about it earlier on in entertainment. So, biography, eh?
Yep.
Wow,
And
Taylor
it's
Swift.
with Pan Macmillan as the publisher.
Yes.
So, and they're keeping very tight-lipped
So we're
about it all.
talking July. Not
Yeah.
long at all. I guess you're
yeah.
coming back in July.
Yeah.
Now, this book here, someone popped it on my desk. Of course, it's you guys are selling this as well, I believe, or you launched
Yes.
it. Did you do the launch for Belinda?
Yeah, we did, and it was an amazing day, and her family, friends, and others were there. It was sensational. I mean, they're just this one big, massive, lovely group of people, and the adventures of Frankie.
And the Fabulous Football.
Yeah.
About her dad, inspired by her dad's real life story.
Yes, and the Mermaid book. We've still got that one too, and the kids love the Mermaid.
Yeah, that was inspired by
Yeah.
her own personal
Yeah,
life, of course,
so-
the mermaid.
And I've sold a couple of them into the schools as well, which
Well
is
done.
fantastic.
Well, there you go,
Yeah.
Belinda, a free plug. Now, My Little Bookshop, tell us where it's located, because I've got the address here. I'll just check if it's correct. Shop 10, 5 to 7 Railway Terrace in Rockingham. They're open Monday, they're closed. Tuesday 10 to 4, Wednesday 10 to 5, Thursday, Friday and Saturday 9 to 5, and then Sunday 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Go in, grab a coffee, get a good read, buy a book. You can also approach them online by going to their website, which is mylittlebookshop.com.au. If you're over east, there's the website. You can buy any of the books and they'll post them to you, or you can give them a call if you want a book that's not online and ask Kerry. Speak to her. I think we've covered everything.
I think we have, yes.
Thank you, Kerry. Kerry Ridley, of course, the owner of the bookstore, Shore, for Shore, next to the Shore in Rockingham.
Yep.
And we'll catch up with you next month.
Lovely. Been a
And don't
pleasure.
forget, the travelling book caravan as well is everywhere. Check out the website. Thanks, Kerry. We'll take a break.
you.
More of The Couch coming up right after this.
Connect with The Couch online through Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Welcome back to The Couch. It's always nice to have Millennium Kids on the show. Today is no different. We've got Kat back, the CEO from Millennium Kids, and Chris, who has been working on an amazing water project in Indonesia. To talk about that and more is our very own Millennium Kid herself. It is Nisha Seth.
Thank you, Fred. It's a pleasure to have you back on The Couch, Kat, and welcome, Chris.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So exciting. Youth empowerment is at the core of what Millennium Kids do, and you've been involved with the Global STEM project, which is where you met Chris.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. We had this opportunity to facilitate a series at the Global STEM Initiative, which was at UWA, facilitated by Value Learning from the East Coast. And our young people presented real-world projects that they had been working on. And through the facilitation, we had 60 young people in the room presenting their ideas for change. And through that, we met Chris, who had an amazing project concept around looking at devising a system to monitor and sort out water pollution.
Amazing. And why is it so important? And you can both answer this, I think, from different lenses, but for youth to be like authentically involved in making decisions and putting their ideas forward rather than it being adults kind of structuring things and kids just coming along for the ride.
I mean, most definitely it's easier for a kid to talk to a kid rather than grown-ups in between, because like grown-ups, they have a different view of things and they tend to talk from like a grown-up perspective, like, oh, I've been through all these experiences, I'm sure it's the same for you, but like for us kids it's a completely different, like we live in a different era and it keeps changing from generation to generation to generation. So like rather than having like a bunch of grown-ups trying to present to kids their ideas, using kids as like a medium to present things, it clicks better with the other kids. They tend to be more engaged and they tend to understand what we're saying more because we use like more common kid slang, if you will.
Yeah, and I guess Global STEM was really an opportunity to facilitate to younger kids as well as your own age group, but then you also speak to adults, so you're getting that opportunity, I guess, to spread that perspective, right? Yeah.
It's really interesting because one of the things that I really like about this process that Millennium Kids has developed over the years is that young people don't have all the barriers that we have as adults. They can come up with novel ideas, and then they don't have this idea of, well, I'm not going to be able to make that happen. It's quite refreshing to work with them because they have a different view of the world. And so opportunities like the Global STEM program not only gave the young people an opportunity to work through a co-design process and look at leadership skills and the sorts of skill sets they need to make a project happen. We, as Millennium Kids, were given an opportunity to select young people who'd gone through the process and mentor them. And Chris took that opportunity, and we've been working with her for 6 months. Because her project was about water, we built a school in Indonesia during the pandemic with a partnership project, and we reviewed the school in January. And water pollution and the way they access water and manage water was a major problem, and so it was a perfect fit. We pitched to Chris and said, would you like to learn about this project and help us devise a real system for a real school in an overseas location? And she said yes.
And we talked about the importance of youth empowerment, but deliberate democracy as well. So trying to ensure that part of that process is Chris and her colleagues, her peers, actually having actions, right? Rather than just talking about things. Climate change, it's happening. We're not all going to be what we might be in 2070 or 2080.
I don't know about that one.
You're going to be around.
Yeah, me and my friends are going to be around, and we're going to have to deal with the problems that have been there from times beyond and times past.
Yes.
They're going to be
You'll
new
thank
problems.
the legacy of the previous generation.
So deliberative democracy is a process that we were invited to learn about through a professor at Curtin University, Professor Jeanette Hartz-Karp. And deliberative democracy is about people deliberating about an issue, and there are lots of different ways and skills that you learn in that process. And Chris stepped up to start learning about that process and facilitated a session with a group in Canning a couple of weekends ago, and you learnt lots of things through that process, didn't you?
Yeah, most definitely. There were a lot of things to learn from them. Like those kids, since they aren't like Millennium Kids, they're just like a bunch of generic school kids almost. So you can see like the difference in thinking, because Millennium Kids almost acts like a little bit of a filter. Millennium Kids, they're already like into projects and things, and they have like specific ideas on what they want to do. Whereas like these school kids, they have like a broader idea, like I want more trees. And it's like, how do you want more trees? When do you want more trees? Why do you want more trees? How do you get that to happen? And it's like, I got to learn more about what happened to me at Global STEM personally, because I kind of like, my way of thinking like changed during those few days, because the kind of people I was around, they sharpened my thinking like one would sharp like a spear almost. Like they were refining it down further and further and teaching me how to kind of design something, how to come up with something actually and make it happen. And I got to help those kids on that day with my facilitators too, and like letting it and watching them kind of come up with ideas and then helping them refine it to a point and actually showing them that this could actually happen.
Absolutely. You know, it's just so invigorating to hear you speak, and I think we're very excited when we have leaders like you. At 14, the team lead for this project in Indonesia. I mean, Kat, you were saying to me before, people ask you, how old is a team lead for the project in Indonesia? You're like, 14, and we do live sometimes in an ageist society, but it's not about age.
Yeah.
It's about the thinking that helps. Yeah. In terms of Millennium Kids as well, we know that there are some big issues heading our way for all of us. Why do you think, and I just want to really pound this into the pavement, why is it so important that we keep, particularly older adults, our minds open?
Oh, yes.
You had a great quote before.
Yeah, I had that quote before, which was, adults are okay-ish, but they could be more open-minded, which honestly is true. I'm not going to lie. Like, on that day in Canning, I got to see a few of the parents, and like, and and also in Global STEM, there was a very different contrasting mindset between me and some of the older kids and me and some of the parents too. Like for me, it was like, oh, this is a new exciting thing to do, you know. I get to go outside, talk to people. And the parents that I could hear outside when they were dropping off their kids was, hope my kid's going to get some credit out of this. And it's like, it's not just for credit, there's also like other things going on there too. And it's more like the way that we are conditioned when we grow up, like the different factors that change the way we think and how we act and all those kind of things. Like I only managed to get through to Global STEM through my school, which is Harrisdale Senior High, but I wasn't actually meant to be there. I was a year 8. Like everyone else from my school that was going was year 9. I wasn't actually meant to be there.
You're a trailblazer, I can see this.
But I think this raises the point about the way Millennium Kids works, is when we're not ageist. If a young person has an idea and they're 7, why don't you skill them up and let them run with that idea? Why do we have this system that says you can't do X until you've done a university degree? Sure, you need experts around you, but you don't necessarily have to do all of that training to get to that point. So this is an opportunity for young people to be mentored by experts, but actually to learn a skills for life set that can help them manage some of these climate challenges that we're going to have in the future.
Let's pull that hierarchy down a little bit, I think, make it a little bit more flat. And Kat, you are an amazing mentor. We've had many of the Millennium Kids on the show and they've just been exceptional, and you are a mentor in your own right as well. You know, we're all equal in our thinking, and I'd love, I know Fred's smiling, he'd love to have you back on the show at some stage as well. Where do people find out more? Because there's a lot of other programs that you run and that you'll be involved in. Where should they go?
They can go to www.millenniumkids.com.au.
Wonderful. Kat, Chris, thank you so much for being on the show, and I just think it's amazing what you're doing. Well done, and I look forward to following your trajectory, which will be very sharp.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks.
Now, if you've missed anything at all, thecouch.com.au, of course, and our Facebook page, but we'll look forward to seeing Millennium Kids again soon. Back to you, Fred.
Thank you, Nisha. Don't give up your day job, Nisha. You never know, someone might replace you. Chris
I would love
looks
to be
pretty
replaced.
good. Kat,
Abundance, not scarcity.
Just before we go to the break, Kat, there's a lot of young people out there, and as we're saying, it's not about age. Millennium Kids, if they want to get involved, what sort of roles can they have, just quickly?
Well, we have what we call a change-making model, and the model, the children choose. So some people want to get involved in education programs, others want to look at behaviour change, others want to sit with ministers and advocate for different ways of thinking. There's design and innovation, which
and
is...
so there's some great products that your guys have invented and created.
There's a whole process that
Smart
they go
people.
through. Yep.
Smart people. Well done. Thank you very much, Kat, for bringing it all together as the CEO. Chris, Kat's scared of you because you could be the next CEO. What a wonderful transition as well.
Yeah,
14
what a transition.
Years old.
That's a great idea.
What a wonderful transition. Kat's going on leave. Chris is taking over. We're going to take a break. More of The Couch coming up very soon. We'll have Millennium Kids back again next month with another segment, and we'll see you after the break.
Connect with The Couch online through Facebook, Instagram and YouTube.
Welcome back to The Couch. The Strange Festival is coming to Perth very soon. Glenn Watson is the festival director. But if you're thinking of coming over to Perth, you need to know when it is. It's happening this week, so get involved. Nisha has got Glenn on the couch, and we're going to find out all about the second Strange Festival. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Fred. And yes, get ready to tantalise your senses. I do have Glenn here. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Glenn, you're a very experienced events manager, and this Strange Festival kind of came out of all of your experience with your partner, Jess.
Yeah, that's right. We, I guess during COVID, when all events were cancelled, we started thinking of an idea for our own arts festival that would work in the city in winter, and I guess Perth people are quite fair weather when it comes to winter.
Yes.
And we don't like to go out, and we like refunds if it's raining for a concert. And so we, I guess, developed a festival idea that could, I guess, overcome those hurdles, overcome those kind of barriers to coming out. So we focused on the Christmas Lights Trail, the City of Perth's Christmas Lights Trail, and decided to focus on a visual arts walking trail of the city by removing the cost of buying tickets. It made it easier by moving it indoors. So we found vacant retail spaces as the best opportunity to highlight and host these spaces. So they weren't outside, they weren't exposed to the elements, and people could walk the trail without getting wet through the middle of the city.
Wonderful. And probably the audience, like myself and Fred, were thinking, we hear the word strange. Tell us about what the word strange means to you and the whole concept of this festival.
Well, look, I guess we've also pinched a little bit of inspiration from Dark Mofo and other winter arts festivals and the like. And I guess strange allows us to be quite broad in what we include. What's strange for me is not necessarily strange for you. And we can have things that are family friendly. We can have things that are very much adult focused. We can also have things that are gross, weird, kooky, nerdy, whatever. And it still fits under that strange umbrella, which is great. So we're able to kind of develop the brand and the festival as it goes in future years.
I like this kind of abundance mindset, you know,
absolutely.
tolerance, acceptance. Now, you've got over 50 diverse artists now in these 20 locations. Tell us about some of the spaces that are going to be sort of illuminated during this time.
Yeah, I guess, so with Strange, it's very much about using vacant spaces or underused or forgotten spaces to host. So the art is one element, but also showing patrons places in the city that they may not know or remember from a long time ago. They get to see it again. So we're using old retail shopping basements. We're converting one of those into a performing arts space. The approvals and the compliance and the licensing is quite a challenge for something like that.
Can we announce which one it is? Because I'm sure this will take us back.
So anyone from Perth that's been around for a while might remember the Carillion City Arcade, and there was a reject shop basement in the Carillion City. So we're hosting 9 nights of performing arts in that space.
Wow.
Most of the other spaces are visual arts spaces, so more of an exhibition. You walk in, have a look at the installation, but this is one of our 2 performing arts spaces.
Fantastic. And the amount of work that goes into this, I don't think people realise. These are spaces that are like hidden and have been closed up for so long. Is that pretty tough, getting them alive for just 10 days as well?
It's definitely a labour of love. I wouldn't recommend it if you haven't done events or gone through that process before. But it is so satisfying and so rewarding to see, I guess, people's eyes light up. And another space we're using is the Liberty Theatre, which was a cinema until 1997. We're turning it into a pop-up cinema once again. So we did a test filming test screening last weekend, and the amount of people that came through and had stories of, you know, back in the 70s I used to come here and watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show or things like that. And it's just so inspiring to see people come back and be excited to see those spaces again.
Beautiful. And one of the sort of kick-off events, the walking tour, tell us about that in the CBD.
Yeah, so of our 50 plus artists, 95% are local, Perth and West Australian artists, with a handful of interstate artists. The Midnight Horrors are from Melbourne. They're coming over specifically for Strange to do 4 days of walking tours. Now, it's not your typical walking tour. It's not a guided tour of the city. It's not about the history. It's a bird watching tour with no birds.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So very much, it's about mythical birds, it's about hypothetical birds, it's about creating a narrative around that pigeon that just walked past with a chip in his mouth. So we're really excited to see it as well, and we're really proud and really grateful that an interstate artist is willing to come over and participate in Strange for us. With us.
So novel. That's what we need these days, don't we? Something that's a bit different, strange. Yeah, that's right. Beautiful. Okay, so lovely. And talk to us about the self-guided art trail, because most of your events, that event we just talked about, is ticketed, but it's the only ticketed event, right?
That's right. Yeah. So most of the installations are free to experience, free to see. So of the 28 spaces that we have, 2 of them are ticketed performance spaces and the rest are free to see. So we have projectionists, we have painters, sculptors, performing artists that are taking over vacant retail spaces throughout the city. Everything's within walking distance. You could see it all in the one night, but of those 26 spaces, you can go and spend 3 or 4 hours kind of to your heart's content going and seeing all these little bits and pieces and curiosities through the city.
Fantastic. And obviously Yagan Square is quite a new space, but this year you've got a stronger partnership. Tell us about event that will be there.
So at Yagan Square, for our interstate viewers, it's a new development of the city in the city of Perth, located right next to the train station and the bus station, and we are installing a custom 3 metre by 2 metre screen that will be there for the 10 days of the duration of the festival, showcasing an animated short recreating 2 scenes from the play Binjara Pinjara, which is a dark comedy play from the 90s, I think, it might be the 80s, about the Pinjara massacre. So it's a bit of bit of a hard-hitting story, and it's a bit of a truth-telling and an education opportunity to teach a lot of us West Australians about a piece of history that we may not know much about. And we really hope that it really kind of resonates with people as they walk through Yagan Square from the train station or the bus station.
And I know from speaking to you earlier, it is important to you to have the intentionality around that event. So a lot has gone into making it an experience and a historical one, not just something that is just there for the sake of it.
Absolutely, yeah. We want our art pieces, not just that one, but all of them to be, I guess, obnoxious enough that you can't walk past without seeing it or hearing it. We want people to look away from their phones and turn their head and come in and see something and experience something, and it may open up I guess their eyes and their mind to something that they might not have known they were interested in or wanting to learn more about.
And you're saying your team as well, right? They're really engaging. So people just walking around in the city, you'll try and pull them in, which is another, I guess, hidden thing.
Yeah. I think we're all guilty of turning the other way when someone's trying to get you to sign up to a charity donation, or you don't notice the branded decal on the wall of a shop that's closed down. So the team that we have working with us, their brief is to hustle, basically, to dress up, dress a bit weird, dress a bit strange. There's no uniform, and we want you to entice people to come in to see some weird art, to see some messed up spaces.
Wonderful.
And
what a great opportunity for 10 days to be strange, right?
That's right.
Totally
That's
okay.
it. And you may come out of that with a newfound hobby or passion or interest. So
Gosh, and there's so many events on. So I'm just looking here. We can't obviously mention them all, but lots of paintings and exhibitions, the projections, sculptures.
Yeah. Look, there's no limit and no barrier on the type of content that we would entertain for Strange. Look, we have an artist that's bringing in 4 projectors to create a 4-walled immersive projection that we're really excited to see. It's very overwhelming, sensory overload kind of stuff. But then we also have some amazing, sculpted art from, salvaged wood. We have paintings. We have rugs that have been made. We have performing arts. We have music videos that have a room that's being fitted out to make it like you're in the music video as you watch it. So just anything goes.
It sounds like there is something for everyone as well. Like you said, families, individual, all ages, right? Is
Absolutely.
that fair to say?
There will be some content that's probably not suitable for young kids. Some of it might be a bit scary or a bit. So
check it out first.
We'll have content warnings where appropriate, but we definitely lean into the opportunity to be the festival for the people that don't want to go to a school holiday festival with face painting and fairies and all of the like. So this is the festival for those that don't like the other things.
Fantastic. Well, Glenn, I think there's an exciting opportunity for this to continue to grow. You're only in your second year and you've already got so many more partners. So thank you so much for coming on the couch.
Well, thank you so much.
Where do we find out more?
Our website's probably the best source of information, www.strangefestival.com.au. Information on program, map, tickets, timings, and everything else is there.
Beautiful. We'll look forward to A, going, but B, also maybe having you back afterwards to talk a bit more about
Can't
it.
wait. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So thecouch.com.au if you've missed any of those details there, or our Facebook page. But for now, Fred, it's back to you.
Thank you, Nisha. And Glenn, are we likely to move this festival over east if it becomes really popular? Maybe if you have a national sponsor, or is it too much work?
I think we
keep it exclusive.
It's very much for Perth.
So I'm thinking if next year you have more Stranger Things than Strange, would you call it Stranger Things?
No. I actually want to get rid of the festival. I want it to become strange.
Strange.
Trademark the
Perth.
word. It becomes
Strange Perth.
Strange, just strange.
What a wonderful idea. It is a great festival. We have a lot of things happening here in Perth. You, Perth, need to support it, but you, Australia, need to attend Perth. Come over for a quick holiday. Come over for 10 days. Be part of Strange Festival and support Glenn and the team. Thank you for being on the show today, Glenn, and we wish you all the best. Thank you. Nisha will be applying for some of the jobs by the looks of it.
I will. I'm very excited.
We'll see you on the other side of this break. Don't forget, Strange Festival supported. Back after this.
Connect with The Couch online through Facebook, Instagram and YouTube.
Welcome back to The Couch. Always my favourite segment at the end of the show. It is Bitchin', of course. Let me introduce the bitches today. We have got Sharon. We've got Susie. And we've got Steve.
I'm the male bitch.
Well,
how about that?
Yes, welcome, guys.
Thanks
for coming in today.
If I'd have known.
Now, we've got 3 great stories today. Sharon, welcome back to the couch and the bitches segment.
Great
Now,
to be
you're
here.
from Brand Etiquette. Tell us what Brand Etiquette does.
Pretty much a bit of coaching and training around how people put themselves out there. So a bit of personal brand, style. Really, aiming people are looking to transition in life, perhaps. So,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, what's your story today?
Really, this one caught my eye because I have got a background in banking, that they're really looking at the fact in Australia by 2030 it will be the end of the cheque.
Now, we're talking about those cheques that are either written out or you go to the bank and get a bank cheque.
Yeah.
Now, just before you tell me the story, my bank, NAB, doesn't even take the cheques anymore. Basically, what happens is if you get a cheque from someone, I take a photo of it and they automatically deposit it into my account, and then after 3 days it appears on my bank, and then you can rip it up and throw it away.
Yeah,
So
and a lot of the banks are offering that through online, but they're really looking now at the fact that, are banks necessary? Why are they, not banks, cheques?
Cheques.
Banks, mate, that'll be next, the branches.
Well, the banks think they're not necessary.
Thanks very much.
So they're looking at getting rid of cheques all up by
altogether.
2030? So it's still a few years away.
Still a few years away, but I think it's looking at the fact there are some people so reliant on cheques, think that, that's how they've always done things. But like most things in business, in the banking industry, things have to change, and they're looking at more, financially viable options for the way that we transact. And
You mean cheaper, don't you? They're looking at something that doesn't cost money.
I was putting it in a really nice way.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So, but
Sharon,
cheaper.
do you use a chequebook?
I don't.
Okay,
no.
so I haven't used one for about 10 years.
No.
I did have one from the ANZ in my drawer and I ripped it up and threw it away because I haven't used it.
Yeah.
So is it something that you're going to miss?
Not at all. And I mean, I couldn't even think the last time I think I got a cheque was a dividend cheque that, for some shares, they didn't have my address.
I think I got a refund from Telstra for 25 cents for paying a bill too much. But I think the cheque cost more than the refund. But tell me something, with elderly Australians, I think they are the group that's forgotten in all of this, because they're the ones that I talk to on 6PR that say, I write out my cheques every month and pay all my bills, and they have their envelopes, their stamps, and they're ready to go. So I can see that being an issue with the older community.
I think that's the thing, but then you would like to think they'll divert some attention into supporting, that part of the community into doing business better. I think too, for people who are trying to watch their budget, the quicker that they can transact, the more likely they are to know where their money is. And if people are using cheques and they're posting them, they're really not aware of how much money they've got.
2030, probably less than that. Now, can I just ask a quick comment?
I just want to know what happens to the novelty checks. All those
the big
special,
checks, like the telephone checks.
How do we deal with that?
I'm
what are we
not
going
sure.
to do?
Get a novelty GPay on the phone.
Yeah, I think it'll have to be something like that.
We had one of those when I was back in the bank where someone had won a wet T-shirt competition and tried to bank the novelty check because she'd run off before we'd exchanged it.
Was it Fred or me?
So can I ask a quick yes or no? Steve, you're going to miss cheques?
I had cheques for years. I know that they use them in the US because they're backward, but no, I didn't realise
And what
they
about
were
you,
still
Susie?
around.
Will you miss the cheque?
I won't miss it. Last one I won a crossword competition in That's Life magazine, and they sent me a $25 cheque.
Fantastic. What's your story, please, Susie?
Well, in Woolies, a Woolies in Sydney, they want to set up little cameras on all the shelves so they can monitor what the stock levels are like, so that basically I think it's so they can cut down on having staff having to keep an eye on things, because labour is hard to get. So if they can monitor all the shelves, they can see what needs refilling and what doesn't, and then they can go.
I think the concept sounds interesting.
The concept sounds good, but I think some people are getting a little bit. People are just naturally a little bit nervous whenever
They're
you say
hesitant
we're putting cameras
because
anywhere.
of privacy.
They panic.
They think the camera is going to be looking at them.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, if you go to a shopping centre or any business, what are you afraid of if you're there just to do your shopping?
Exactly. Look, I don't think your privacy concerns. I don't think your privacy is going to be compromised by cameras on the shelves.
So Woolworths have put in, I think, 500 of these cameras.
Yeah, and so of course this is just a trial. They'll see how it goes, and then they might bring it out to all the other shops.
What do you reckon, Steve? Good idea?
Well, it doesn't worry me. I mean, I accept that whenever I walk into a shopping centre anyway, I'm going to be tracked wherever I go, so I couldn't care less about it. I think they're going to use it for the purpose of stock taking, which means that they're not going to hire as much staff. And I think That's the only problem I see. What they're doing is they're getting rid of staff.
And I guess in the future they're looking at having the checkout counters where you're going to have the long counter with the conveyor belt and you're going to operate it yourself. And some of the shops already here in WA doing that. So I can see Coles and Woolworths cutting back on a lot of people and basically having us do it ourselves. What do you think as a marketing person yourself, Sharon?
I think, I mean, like you say, it's unavoidable they're going to look for ways to cut staff. But from a privacy matter, they're already videoing you when you're at the checkout anyway.
Correct. And when you walk into the shop.
And you walk into the shop. So.
Steve, what's your story?
I've got a very important one, Fred. I mean, this is a story about a lady in England. She's a celebrant and she decided she's got an 85-year-old mother called Millie, and she thought, what a shame we have to wait for Mum to die before we have her funeral. So they decided to have a living funeral for her so that you could gather all the people.
Now, this lady funeral.
Yeah. Now, this lady, she is a celebrant, but she's a pagan celebrant, and she has a Viking, a Danish background, so she does Viking funerals and pagan ceremonies and stuff like that. And she just thought it would be nice for her mother to have the funeral before she passes away, and she can have all the people there and they can talk about her life and they could do the eulogies and stuff like that, and she could enjoy what she would have no chance of enjoying once she's carked.
So she's living through her funeral while she's
living through her funeral. And I reckon that's a great idea. I'd love to do that. Well, I don't think anyone would turn up to mine, to be honest with you. I've offended that many people.
You'd have to do your own
MC.
I
think it would be a wonderful thing to be there at your own funeral, and when somebody says something nice about you, say, I disagree. I disagree.
And how good would it be if you could be your own MC at your own funeral?
Great, yes.
Well, you could say everything you wanted to say.
And you can have a say about what they do for your funeral. The most important thing,
and the
Sue
order.
and I were discussing this before, the most important thing is you could get the people there to divvy up all the jewellery and stuff like that so there are no arguments afterwards.
I wonder if you can do a group funeral where you have 2 or 3 people in one time.
That'd be great.
Value.
Why not?
It's like wishful thinking.
Well, if you do the Vikings funeral, you've got a whole ship that they're going to burn you in, so you could chuck a whole pile of people in there, one on each oar.
Something doesn't seem quite right, but having some sort of funeral arrangement before you pass away. But hey, we write wills before we die.
We do.
What do you think, Susie?
Well, we had a family funeral just a few weeks ago, and for dear Basil, and if Basil had been at the funeral, he would have loved it. And so it was an absolutely beautiful tribute to him. But also, you're not going to get the emotion, I guess, though, if you haven't had that grief. So it's a different kind of thing.
I guess they could always videotape it, so if anything does happen, you've already done it, and they can just show the recorded version. Here's one we prepared earlier on. What do you think, Sharon? Good idea, or do you think it's a little bit sick?
I think it's a nice idea from the point that, you want to hear. I don't think I would.
No.
I think, as you said, it's different after you've gone. People would say different things. They're not going to hold back at the same. They'll cry. I don't know, they'll cry if I'm there.
You know what? I've always loved the idea of having a TV studio and doing your will on camera.
Oh, yeah.
And then saying what you really think about everybody. But I don't know if I'd actually...
To Fred, who said I wouldn't remember in my will.
Yes.
Hello, Fred.
and you could do the multicam where you could look at all the cameras to Steve, to Sharon.
Well, no, my wife went to her mother's memorial service, and of course that was in northern New South Wales, and I was sitting here watching it, and that's what they're doing these days. You can go to funerals no matter where you live in the world, and I think that is a great thing as well.
I do too.
Thanks very much to COVID, really.
Yeah, that is a great idea. At least you don't get to miss out on things that are really important, even if you can't be there. But look, thank you very much to all 3 of you today. Thank you to Sharon.
Thank you.
Sharon Atwood, of course, from Brand Etiquette, and people can get in touch with you. What's your website?
Brandetiquette.com.au, but do a lot of Facebook. So
beautiful. And Sharon Atwood, of course. Susie Warner, Revelation Film Festival, and councillor for the City of Vincent. What's the biggest thing you're working on at the City of Vincent at the moment?
Well, we have to get our budget all sorted. I know, terribly dull.
Are you putting up the rates to cover the lighting costs this year?
There are always going to be likely to be rate increases.
Isn't that the thing that we're always sure about? Taxes.
That's right.
And rate increases.
That's right.
Thank you, Susie Warner.
Thank you.
Catch you at the Revelation Film Festival as well. Steve Collins, working at the Police Academy, comedy and everything else. Thank you for coming in today.
Thanks very much,
anything you want to tell me where to go?
Tell me where to go. Tell me where to go. Best travel YouTube video channel in the world.
And best travel correspondent as well.
Of course.
Well done. Thank you very much for your company today. Thanks to all the crew. That is it for the show today. We'll catch you next week on The Couch. Thank you to C31 and C44. We'll leave you today with a 15-year-old, Sophia Gale. She's got a beautiful song. It's called I'll Be There, and we'll be there next week for you right here on The Couch. See you then. Have a great week.
When all the tears are rolling down your face, and it feels like yours the only heart to break. When you come back home and all the lights are out, and you're getting used to no one else being around. Oh, I'll be there when you need a little love, got a little love to share. I'm gonna come through. You'll never be alone, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, yeah, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, yeah, I'll be there for you. Oh, I swear, yeah, got a little love for two. You'll never be alone, I'll be there for you. When it's Friday night and the drinks won't work the same, and you're all alone and there's no one else to blame, and you can still just feel the rhythm in your heart, and you can see your spirit fading in the dark. Oh, I'll be there when you need a little love, got a little love to share. I'm gonna come through. You'll never be alone, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, yeah, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, yeah, I'll be there for you. Oh, I swear, yeah, got a little love for two. You'll never be alone, I'll be there for you. When you're lost down the riverbed, I'll be there. When you're lost in the darkness, I'll be there. I'll be there when your heart is breaking. You'll never be alone, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, yeah. I'll be there, yeah. Oh, I swear, yeah, got a lot of love for two. You'll never be alone, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, yeah, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, yeah, I'll be there for you. Oh, I swear, yeah, got a lot of love for two. You'll never be alone, I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you. You'll never be alone, I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you. You'll never be alone.